Hello everyone, we are in module number 4, and in this video tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to complete the second part of our textbook project for this module. So our next step is to construct the amortization schedule that's on the right hand side of our worksheet. An amortization schedule is simply a table where we're going to be showing every year what's the beginning balance of our loan, the ending balance, and also what part of our annual payment is principal paid and what part is interest paid. Our first step is going to be adjusting the width of the columns where we're going to be entering our amortization schedule, and also the title of that section and the row titles. So let's get started with step number 1. It says position the pointer on the right boundary of column heading G. So we want to adjust the width of this column, and you can do it by dragging that border to the desired width of 0.85, or as I like to do it, you can right click on that column heading and click on column width and just type it in. We want to do 0.85. All right, so press enter. We're just creating a border here in between our left-hand side and right-hand side of the worksheet. Step 2, we're going to do the same with column heading H, and we want to adjust the width to 6. So click column width and then type the number 6. Press OK. All right, step number 3, now drag through columns headings I through L. So all of these are going to have the same width, so we can do them all together. And you can again move that pointer to the desired width, or right click on that column heading for a column width, and we're going to select 16. So just type it in and press OK. All right, as you can see, we've made all of these columns much wider so we can enter the values so that we have enough space to enter our formulas in there. Step 4, select cell H3. All right, so there we are, and type amortization schedule. All right, and then press enter. Step 5, select cell C3. We're going to go to the left. We want to click on cell C3. That's where we have our mortgage payment calculator title. And what we want to do here is copy the format of the cell to our new title amortization schedule. So in order to do that, go to the Home tab, into the clipboard area, click on that icon that looks like a brush. That's the format painter. So we click, and now we just have to click on our destination cell, which is cell H3, where we have the amortization schedule. So as you can see, now we have a bigger font, slightly different color, as we have copied the format from that cell C3. Step 6, click the merge and center button, which is in the Home tab alignment group, to kind of split that selected cell, right? As we copy the format, we merge all of those cells, because that's what we had done with the mortgage payment calculator cell. But we want to merge these cells in a slightly different way. So I'm first going to split them up by pressing merge and center. Right, so as you can see now, we have created separate different cells, and we're going to select range H3 to L3, because we would need one more column for our amortization schedule. So now once we have selected that range H3 to L3, now we're going to press merge and center again, and there we go. And we can go ahead and enter the following column headings in row 4. So we're ready to start entering our column headers. Right, so we're going to click on cell H4 and type year. Move to the right to cell I4, and we're going to type beginning balance. All right, and next we have ending balance. Keep moving to the right. Paid on principal in K4. And then the last one will be interest paid. All right. And now we're going to select that range of cells with all our headers, H4 to L4, and we want to center it, right? So we're going to go to the Home tab, alignment group, and we're just going to center that. Perfect. All right, step 8 says select cell H5, and just so that we can see what it looks like, right? So we're ready to start entering the values on our table. In our next step, we're going to create a series of integers using the fill handle. We want to put years on that first column of our amortization schedule on column H. So our the term of this loan, right, or the life of the loan is 15 years. So that's what we're going to put in that column, years 1 through 15. Step 1 says with cell H5 active, type the number 1, and then we're going to press enter. When we're in cell H6, we're going to type the number 2. And then in order to keep going, we don't have to go all the way to 15, right? Excel is really smart about this and can predict what you're trying to do. So we're just gonna select that range, cells H5 to H6. We're gonna grab that bottom right corner and drag that fill handle all the way to cell H19, right? Until the values go all the way up to 15. All right, so we are done with that step. We have created our first column, as I said. Now we're gonna go ahead and start entering formulas on our amortization schedule. So step 1 says select cell I5, and we're going to enter the value or the formula equals D8. Why? Because our beginning balance is already reported on our amortization schedule. If I move to the left here so you can see what cell D8 is, notice that when I enter that formula, Excel puts a marquee around that cell. It kind of highlights it in blue so that I can see which value I am entering in that new cell, right? So I'm putting in the loan amount, the beginning balance, right? 404,000, right? So press enter, and there we go. Notice that that value is already formatted because in Excel, when we use a formula, Excel copies the formula of the first reference that we put in that formula or function. So we are done with our beginning balance. Let's go ahead and move to the next formula, ending balance on cell J5. All right, so this one is going to be a little bit harder. This one is actually the most complicated of all the formulas that we're going to enter here. So we're going to take it step by step. First of all, we want to make sure that we use an if function so that the value that we're going to enter here will only work. It will only be true once the year that we're in is less than 15, right? So if we have a loan that is shorter than 15 years long, we want to have values of 0 for the years after that length, right? After that life. For example, if we have a 5-year loan, we only want to have values for the first 5 years, and all the other values in our amortization table should be 0. Now, notice that if we wanted to work with a loan longer than 15 years, we would have to rebuild that table and add more rows at the bottom, right? But we can definitely use it for loans with a shorter length, right? As the remaining values will just be 0. All right, so because of this reason, I need to enter this if function. So I'm going to press the equal sign and type if, open parentheses. All right, so look at the argument for an if function. First, we're going to have our logical test. What is the condition? The condition here is that our cell H5, so I'm just going to type in the name. So that is the year, in this case, year 1. It has to be less, so press the less sign, or equal than the term of the loan, which is 15 years. But instead of typing the value 15, we want to refer to that cell where we have entered that value, right? And that is cell F5. So I'm just going to type the name of that cell. As you can see, Excel immediately highlighted it in red. Now, what I want to do here is I want to fix this cell. I want to make it an absolute reference instead of a relative reference. What does that mean? That when I copy this formula down to the other years, to the other rows, Excel is not going to automatically change that row accordingly. Instead, it's always going to refer to cell F5, the 15 years, right? So in order to fix a cell, I can press the key F4, and that puts a $sign in front of the column F and the row 5. Notice that if I press F4 again, then Excel puts a $sign only in front of the row. If I press it again, it puts the $sign only in front of the column. And if I press it a 4th time, the $sign disappears, right? So I'm going to press it one more time just to go back to that absolute reference with the $sign in front of the F and in front of the 5. All right, so far what we're saying is that if the number of years is below 15, comma, then Excel is going to give me, right, or report this value if the condition is true. And what we want to do to calculate the ending balance is to calculate the present value of all the remaining payments after that. So to calculate the next part, I'm going to enter the present value formula, PV, open parentheses, and now I have to enter the arguments of this present value formula. The first argument, as you can see here in this area, is the rate, right? That refers to the interest rate on the loan. So we have that enter on cell F4. So I'm going to type F4, and we want to make that an absolute reference. So I'm going to press the key F4, or just manually add a dollar sign in front of the F and in front of the 4. That's an annual rate. So I'm going to have to divide that by 12 to make it into a monthly rate. Comma. All right, as you can see, the next argument is NPER, stands for number of periods. So here we're going to enter the number of remaining payments that we will have at this point, right? So how do we do that? Well, first, we're going to start by taking 12, because whatever number of years we get, we're going to have to multiply times 12 to make it a number of months, times, so the multiplication symbol. And here we're going to take the difference between 15, or the term of the loan, right? In this case, 15, but we're going to use the cell reference. So F5, press F4 to fix that value, and we're going to subtract H5, which is the number of years in which we are, right? That row. So H5. All right, and that one we're not going to fix H5 because we want that value to change as we copy this formula down later on. So close your parentheses, right? So this is going to give me number of remaining years until the loan is completely paid off times 12, which will convert that into number of months. Comma. Our next argument is the payment. So we're going to refer to our payment on our mortgage calculator, and that is on cell F6. So type F6 and press F4. We want to fix that value. Now I'm going to put a negative sign in front of it, because in Excel there's a sign convention that if you have an outflow of cash, you should put a negative. If it's an inflow of cash, you put it positive, right? In this case, we're going to be making that payment. It's an outflow of cash for us, so we're going to make it negative. Also, this sign convention will allow us to get a positive present value. If I don't put a negative there, I could get a negative present value instead. We don't want that to happen, right? So go ahead and put a close parentheses after your F6, and then comma. All right, so now we're going back to the if function argument, right? What we just enter is what Excel is going to return if this condition is true. What happened if this condition is not true? Then we want it to return a value of zeros, right? So the comma, 0, and then close your parentheses. All right, you can go ahead and press enter. Let's make sure that we got the correct number. We should see a 383,740.549. Notice that this number does not have the format of the dollar sign, right? Does not have a currency format. Why did this happen? Because as I mentioned earlier, with Excel, when you enter a formula, and also with most functions, what happens is that Excel will automatically use the format of the first cell reference enter in that formula or function. However, this happens for most functions, not with the if function, which is what we use in this particular cell, right? So that's why we don't have that format. But no worries, in the next step, we're going to work on reformatting those cell values that have lost their format. All right, so I'm gonna go up and right here to cell K5. In cell K5, we're gonna enter the formula equal sign. So what is our paid on principal, right? It's going to be cell I5. So let's type I5 minus J5. And by the way, when it comes to cell numbers in letters, you can just enter them in lowercase and or uppercase. It won't make a difference, right? So we are calculating the paid on principal as our beginning balance minus our ending balance, right? Of course, the difference between those two amounts is the principal that we're paying off during that period, right? So go ahead and press enter or the right arrow to move to the next formula that we need to enter in cell L5. All right, so our very last one, cell L5, should be equals. All right, here we're going to do a similar function using the if function again. We want to type if, open parentheses, if I5. So go ahead and type I5. So if our beginning balance is greater than 0, right? So if we have a beginning balance, we still have a balance to pay off, then we want Excel to return the following value. This is the value that will be returned if this condition is true. We want to take 12 months times, we're going to multiply this times our payment. So F6, go ahead and press F4 to fix that cell, right? So $F, $6 minus K5, right? That is our paid on principal. And so look what we're doing here. I am taking my payment, the payment for the year, minus the part that was principal, right? So the difference will be the interest for that month. We're going to multiply it times 12 to get the interest for the entire year, right? That's what we're trying to calculate. So this value would be returned only if the beginning balance is greater than 0, if we're still paying off the loan. If the beginning balance is 0, then we would just return a value of 0, right? We want that table to stop at that point. So let's go ahead and press enter and double check that our answer is correct. We should get 15,297.69706. All right, so that seems to be correct. Let's go ahead and move on to our next section. So now that we've completed the first row, it's time to start copying these formulas down. And it should be relatively simple, right? We should be able to highlight or select these first formulas and just copy them down. However, there's one column here, one specific formula in which we're not going to be able to do it that easy. We're going to have to make a quick adjustment, right? And that's the first column, the beginning balance. But I'm going to worry about the next three, J, K, and L. We're going to do those as those are easy first. So step 1 says select the range J5 to L5. J5 to L5. So the three formulas that we just entered. And we're going to drag that fill handle all the way to row 15. Right, or row 19, but year 15 in our table. All right, so here it goes. As you can see, we get a lot of negative numbers and a lot of zeros on the last column. It doesn't look quite right. That's okay, because some of these functions are a function of the values that we have on column I, and we haven't entered those values yet. Once we fix column I, all these numbers that we just computed will be automatically updated, and hopefully that will be correct. So what do we need to do to column I? Why is this one different? Because if I copy that formula down, it's always going to be 404,000, right? And I don't want that. The beginning balance every period is going to be equal to the ending balance in the prior year. So if you have selected cell I6, we're simply going to type J5, right? So look at the cell that was selected. We see it in gray with a blue border. That is the ending balance for the previous year. Do I need to fix this cell? Do I need to make it an absolute reference? No, I want it to be a relative reference. So I'm going to press enter, and look what I'm going to do. I'm going to select that cell, only that cell, and then I'm going to drag that fill handle all the way to 15, right? So as you notice, probably the interest paid and the paid on principal now, they're all positive, not zeros. So it looks right. Now that we've entered values in that column, the rest of the amortization table seems to be correct as well. But what I want to show you here is, so in that cell I6, we enter the value J5, right, which was the ending balance the prior year. Look what happens if I go to the next one, J6, J7, and so on. So every year, the beginning balance is the ending balance in the prior year, even to the last one, right? In year 15, it's simply J18, which is the ending balance as of the end of year 14. All right, so we are done with that step. Let's go ahead and now we're going to enter formulas at the bottom to make sure that we have some totals for our amortization schedule. So select cell J20, right? And we're going to enter subtotal, so type subtotal. And next we're going to select the range K20 to L20 and click the auto sum button. So that's on the editing group here. You're on the home tab, editing group. It looks like a big sigma Greek letter or summation sign. So click on it, and that what it does is automatically adds up all the values above the cells that you had selected. All right, let's make sure that they are correct. 404,000 and 129,357.22. Perfect. All right, so moving to step number 3, we want to select J21 and we're going to enter down payment, PYMT, period, as your row title. It should be a T period, PYMT period. There we go. Select cell L21. All right, there we are. And enter the equation equals D7. Right, so what is in D7 is the down payment that we had put in our mortgage calculator. I'm going to scroll up there. You can see it. That was a down payment. You see that cell selected is $115,000. Right, so that's what we're putting down here as well. We're just transferring that information. So press enter. You should see the $115,000. Next, we're going to select J22. J22 and enter total cost as your row title, and then select L22. Here's where we're going to calculate the total cost of the loan. So this should be equal to K20, right? So our total principal paid, the $404,000 plus L20, right? That is equal to the total interest paid. You see it highlighted in red, plus we want to add, of course, our down payment, right? So L21, and that should be a plus, right? So K20 plus I20 plus L21. Let's go ahead and press the enter sign, and that should give me $648,357.22. Notice that this number should match the numbers that we had on our mortgage payment calculator. So I'm going to reduce the size of this just so that we can see it all in one sheet. All right, so let's make sure that it matches, right? So our $404,000 is the loan amount, as you can see there. They match. Our total interest paid matches the $129,357.22 on cell F7. Our down payment, it's $115,000. We had that information on cell D7. And then the last one is the total cost of the loan, $648,357.22, matches what we had on cell F8 on our mortgage payment calculator. All right, so the last step in building this schedule is to format the numbers again. We're going to select cell I5. So I5. All right, there we go. Sorry, that's, oh yes, I5. And then click the format painter button. So we want to copy this format. Remember that we copy this formula from the mortgage payment calculator. So that's why it has a dollar sign already, right? We had copied the format. So I'm going to repeat the same here. I'm going to go to the clipboard area, click on that format painter button. And now we want to copy this format to the following cells to range J5 to L5. So J5 to L5. All right, there we go. As I click on it, as you can see, all of those cells now have a dollar sign in the 2 decimal places. So we've given all of those cells the currency style. Next, we're going to select the range I6 to L19. So I6 to L19, right? Essentially the other rows. And we're going to right click to display the shortcut menu. We want to go to Format Cells, make sure that you're on the Number tab, so the first one. And here we want to select the currency category. And we want to have under symbol, make sure that you have none. Yes, we want 2 decimal places. We don't want to change that. And in the negative numbers list, we want the 4th format, right? The one that says 1,234 and 10 cents in red and in parentheses. All right, and we're going to click OK. So we're given this particular currency format to this selected cells. Now we're going to deselect. So click anywhere, deselect that range so we can see what the table looks like. At this point, compare it to figure 434 in your textbook to make sure that everything looks correct. And next, we're going to start formatting our worksheet. So let's start by applying borders to each of the sections of our worksheet. One option to apply borders is to go to the font group under the Home tab and simply click on the drop-down menu in the Borders button. As you can see, we have a limited amount of options here in terms of the types of borders, the thickness, and the color. So a much better alternative is to go to the cells group and click on that format drop-down menu, go to format cells. As you can see here in the border tab, we have a much wider variety of options in terms of the colors that we want to use, the different styles, and where we specifically want to add that border. All right, so let's go ahead and follow our instructions. So select C4 to F8. So we're going to work with the mortgage payment calculator, C4 to F8. We're going to right click to exit that format cells dialog box. And here we want to click on the border tab. We're going to click on the arrow to select our specific color. We want green accent 2, which is column 6, row 1. So just count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Column, row 1, and make sure that that's the correct color. When you hover over that specific color, it'll show you the name green accent 2. That seems to be correct. So click on it. And then we want to go to click on the medium border in the style area. So right here, this is the style area. The medium size is column 2. So this is column 1. This is column 2. Row 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And to select the specific style that we want. And then we want to click on outline in the presets section, right? So right in the middle, the icon in the middle. Next, we want to click the light border in the style area, column 1, row 7. So that one over there, and then click the vertical line button in the border area. All right, so notice that we applied the medium thickness border to the outline, and then that light border to the vertical line. So now we can go ahead and click OK. Select somewhere else so we can see it looks the same. All right, it looks good. Now we're going to apply a border to the varying interest rate schedule. Select the range C10 to F22. So C10 to F22. All right, there it is. And right click to go to format cells. And we're going to do something very similar. In the border tab, make sure that you click down on the color. And we want green accent 2, so column 6, row 1 again. That's it, green accent 2. We want a medium border, so this one over here, column 2, row 5, to apply to the outline. And we want the light border, which is the last row on the first column, to the vertical line. All right, so we can click OK to apply that format. Perfect. Now we want to select the range C10 to F10. So the title, the headers of that table. And we're going to format those cells. So right click, go to format cells. And we want a green. So the same green color. Yes, we're still there. And we want a light border. So light, first column, last row. And a light bottom border. Right, so that would be this one over here, right? Third one in the border category or the border area. All right, so we can go ahead and click OK, and we're gonna just click anywhere else to deselect that range and compare it to figure 439 to make sure that it looks good, and it does. It looks exactly like the picture. All right, now we're gonna apply the border to the amortization schedule. Select the range H4 to L22, H4, so including the headers, to L22, there we go. And we're gonna right click to display format cells, apply a green accent 2, so under the color, green accent 2, a medium border to the outline, and a light border to the vertical line. All right, there we go. Click OK to apply that custom border. And now we're going to select the range H5 to L19. Okay, so H5 to L19. There we go. We're gonna go to right click, format cells. We want a green light upper border. So same green light upper border and a green light bottom border. All right, so we want a top and a bottom. To the selected range, press OK, and now deselect the range so that we can make sure that it looks like figure 440, and it looks exactly the same. All right, next we're going to use borders for the entire worksheet and fill color to visually define and group the financial tools. So change the height of row 23 to 8.25. So row 23, let's go ahead and select that row header, right click on it, row height, and adjust it to 8.25. Click OK. The width of column M should be changed to 0.85. So we're going to make a border, right, kind of a separator. So click on that column header, right click, column width, and we want to set it to 0.85. Click OK. Step 3, select the range B2 to M23. So B2 to M23. We want to include that separator. Perfect. And add a blue-gray text to. So right click, format cells. The color that we want is blue-gray text to, column 4, row 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. If we put our mouse over it, we should see blue-gray text to. All right, so click on it, and we want the heavy style border, which is column 2, row 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. To the outline border. And next, we're going to click OK to apply that border with the same range selected. So we're still on that matrix B2 to M23, or that range. We still have it selected. We're going to click the fill color arrow. So in the font group, the one that looks like a bucket of paint, that's the fill color. Click on that arrow to display the different colors, and we want white background 1, which is column 1, row 1, so the very first one. All right, so we apply that color to that selected range. Click anywhere to deselect it, and there we go. It now looks exactly like our figure. Make sure that you save your work, file, save, and make sure you save it in the same storage location with the same file name. One thing that I wanted to mention when we apply borders, I'm going to go back to that screen again, format cells, and then the border sheet, that the order in which you apply these options is very important. So make sure that you follow the instructions in the textbook step by step, the color first, then the style, and then where you want to put it in the preset area on the border area. Right? Make sure that you follow order very, very carefully, as I said. Otherwise, you may end up with a different border than what you need to. So next, we're going to learn how to highlight certain cells using conditional formatting. In this case, why would we want to do this? Well, let's see. In our mortgage payment calculator, we have an interest rate of 3.875%, right? If we look at that same value on the table, I'm going to highlight that corresponding row. We can see that the monthly payment, the total interest, and the total cost for that specific rate I have highlighted those or selected those cells just to kind of show you that that's the respective row, right? So a loan officer may want to do this, may want to highlight the row that matches the specific interest rate or specific variables entered in the mortgage payment calculator, right, in our data section. So let's follow the instructions to learn how to do this. We're going to select the range C12 to C22, where we have our range of interest rates from 3% to 4.25% in increments of 0.125%, right? So that's where we're going to start by selecting that column, because we want Excel to match one of these interest rates to the one we have in cell F4, right? So let's go ahead and click the conditional formatting button, which is in the home tab, the styles group. So conditional formatting, then we want to select highlight cell rules, right? And that will display the menu, the shortcut menu. We want to click on equal to, So we want to say, Excel, in this column that I have highlighted, in this range that I've highlighted, find the value that is equal to F4. So we're going to delete that and equal F4, and then press the function F4 as well to put a dollar sign in front of the F and in front of the 4. So I am fixing that cell, right? Notice that in our worksheet, F4 is where we have our interest rate of 3.875%, right? And this is going to highlight in a light red field with a dark red text. So just click OK, and I'm going to just deselect that range so you can see what happened. Now that interest rate of 3.875% is highlighted in that red color, right? And it has red text as well. So we're going to go ahead and select cell F4, and we're going to experiment with this. Let's see if we can change, what happens if we change that interest rate to 4.125%. Right, so I type 4.125, press enter. So look at what happened. Of course, all the numbers change. Our varying interest rate schedule and amortization schedule, everything changes, right? But also, as you can see, the highlighted cell now, it's different. It's highlighting the cell with the matching rate of 4.125%. Let's go back to cell F4 and enter our original interest rate of 3.875%. Right, so everything goes back to normal. Now, I want to show you how we can use the schedule to kind of play with the data, right, and see what would happen under different scenarios. So let's see if we can change some of this information, some of the data that we were given. Step 1, we're going to enter land in cell D5. So we're going to assume a different item. We're going to work with land, and we have a price, right? A purchase price of this land of $100,000. And our down payment is $25,000. So we're entering that in cell D7. And then in cell F4, we're going to change our interest rate to 3.5%. And the term of the loan in cell F5 would be 10 years instead of 15. All right, so as you can see, all the numbers in our worksheet have changed. We have a total cost of the loan of $113,997.28. Make sure that that matches figure 4.46. Explore a few more numbers just to make sure that all the numbers are matching. So look at the rate that is highlighted now in column C, the 3.5%, right, which matches our rate entered in cell F4. Now, another interesting point here is that because now we are assuming a shorter loan, right, or a loan with a shorter life, look at what happened to the years after year 10. You're going to have zeros for all those values. That's why it was so important earlier when we enter those formulas in the amortization schedule. It was so important to use that if function, right? When we said that if we had reached the length of the loan, then we would just put zeros for those remaining values. Let's go ahead and change our data back to the original levels. So step 1, we're going to enter house. And you can do this, retype it, or just go, back and do several steps to go back to those original numbers. All right, the purchase price is $519,000. The down payment is $115,000. And the interest rate is 3.875. And the term is 15 years. Right? Make sure that you match the total cost of the loan again. We have $648,357.22. All right. Our next task is to learn how to print certain sections of our worksheet. We did something similar in Module 2. We learned that we could just select a certain range of cells, go to the print dialog box and choose print selection, right? But what if we want to print a certain section of our worksheet on a regular basis? Then we can ask Excel to set a certain printing area. Another printing option that is worth mentioning is the fact that even if you have a color printer, you can choose to print in black and white. Printing in black and white is a lot faster and also uses a lot less ink than color printing, of course, so it will save you a lot of money. So let's go ahead and follow the steps. First, we're going to display the page layout tab across the top on the main ribbon. This will display the page setup dialog box, so click on that arrow at the bottom right corner. As you can see here, we have the page setup dialog box displayed, and we want to make sure that in the scaling section, we have fit to, select the fit to option, and we want one page, right? So fit to one page. I already have a number 1 there, so I'm all done. Also, I want to make sure that in the orientation section, I have it set up to the portrait option. And next, we're going to click on the sheet tab, the last one. Here is we're going to change that black and white printing option. So click that box that says black and white. Make sure that you see a check mark in that box, and then click OK. All right, now that we have our settings ready, we can go ahead and set the printing area. So in some situations, you may not want to print your entire worksheet. You may just want to print sections of it. So for example, let's see, what if we want to print only the mortgage payment calculator section of our worksheet? So we're going to select the range C3 to F8, right, the mortgage payment calculator section, and then go ahead and click on the print area button. Is in the page setup group. So print area, when you click on it, you'll see those two options, set print area and clear print area. We want to click on set print area. We're telling Excel that those cells that we have selected that are now in that gray color is the area that we want to print. Next, we're going to click File on the ribbon. This will display the backstage view. And here we just want to click on Print. This is going to display the area or range that we are planning on printing. As you can see, that's exactly what's going to look like when we print it out. All right, so here you can just go ahead and click on the print button, and that will go straight to your printer, or it'll come out as a PDF file. In my case, as under printer, I have PDF file, right? But if you want to come out in your printer, just select the printer of your choice and hit print. All right, next, let's go back here. So when I've done this, now I've told Excel that I want to print that section every time I print from this worksheet. So in order to prevent that to happen, I want to clear this selection now, right? So we're going to click on the print area button again in that page setup group. And this time we're going to hit clear print area, right? So now we have told Excel that we want to reset our printing area. Next, we're going to learn how to name a printing area, right? A printing range. So if we're printing certain sections of our worksheet on a regular basis, we may want to assign each of the sections a name. In our situation, we could give a name to the mortgage payment calculator, assign a name to the varying interest rate schedule, and then assign a name to the amortization schedule section of our worksheet. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and click on Page Setup to display the dialog box. And here we're going to click on Sheet. This time, we want to click on the black and white box. We're going to remove it because we're going to print it in color this time. And then we're going to click OK. Right, so we have our settings. Now we're going to start selecting our range of cells. So we'll start with range C3 to F8, the mortgage payment calculator again. So that is C3 to F8. We're going to click on the name box. So here, this is the name box where you see C3 right now. Click on that name box, and we want to assign this range of cells a name. We're going to call it the mortgage payment. So just type in that box, mortgage, and make sure that you use an underscore. So mortgage underscore payment. The entire word, right? Yes, mortgage underscore payment. All right, go ahead and press enter. So as you can see now in the name box, we have that name for that specific range of cells for that specific section in our worksheet. Next, we're going to do it for the varying interest rate schedule. So we're going to select the range C9 to F22. We're going to click on the name box again, and we're going to call this section interest schedule underscore schedule. All right, press enter. Next, we're going to select the range H3 to L22. H3 to L22. So our amortization schedule, right? We're going to click on the name box, and we're going to assign the name amortization underscore schedule. All right, click enter. All right, so we have assigned names to each of those areas. Let's go ahead and now call the entire worksheet, we're going to call it financial tools. So this time we want to select the range B2 to M23. Make sure with those selections, because we want to make sure that we're including that border, that blue border around our worksheet, right? So B2 to M23. All right, click on the name box and we're going to type financial underscore tools, right, with capital F, capital T. All right, click enter. We have assigned a name to that entire worksheet. So go ahead and select just an empty cell, and then we're going to click on that name box, that little arrow, to make sure that all those names that we are assigned are in there. All right, so I see my financial tools, my interest schedule, my amortization schedule, and then the mortgage payment, right? They're all there. Perfect. All right, so next we're going to click on the mortgage payment. All right, that's monthly payment. I want mortgage payment. There we go. Excel automatically highlights that selected area. We're going to click on File on the main ribbon. This will open the Backstage view, and then we want to click on Print and make sure that we have under Print Active Sheets here. I already have Print Selection, but if you do have Print Active Sheets instead, make sure that you change that to Print Selection, right? And as you can see on the screen on the right hand side, we see a preview of what our printout will look like. So we can go ahead and click the print button here, again, to the printer of your choice. And then the instruction says one at a time, repeat this for each of the areas that you set, right? Each of the names that you assign to those printing areas in your worksheet. So we're going to repeat it for the interest schedule, for the amortization schedule, and also for the financial tools section, which is the overall worksheet. All right, so make sure you save your work. Next, we're going to learn how to protect worksheets and entire workbooks in Excel. So in what kind of situation would you want to protect a worksheet or perhaps some cells in that worksheet? Perhaps you are planning on sharing your work with your teammates if you're working in a project at school, right? Or with your colleagues or your boss at work, or your customers or clients. Maybe you want to prevent them from accidentally changing or deleting an important cell where you've entered a formula or text. So in order to do so, we have to protect our worksheet, or at least some specific cells within that worksheet. Now, in Excel by default, when you create a workbook, every cell in that workbook will be in the locked status, right? Cells can be either locked or unlocked. So in order to really activate that protection, we have to follow a two-step process. We first are going to select the cells that we don't want to be protected. We call those the unprotected cells, right? So we're gonna unlock them, and then we will protect the entire worksheet. So let's see how we can do this for our example. In this particular example, there are a few variables that we want to keep unprotected because we want users to be able to change them. So we're going to select those cells D5 to D7. So that's the item name, right? House in this case, the price and the down payment of the house. Press Control because we're going to select a non-adjacent range of cells. We want F4 and F5, so the interest rate and the term of the loan. Once I have those cells selected, we're going to right-click anywhere on that selected area. So right-click, click on Format Cells, and then click on the last tab or sheet. It's called Protection. So you see that that locked item is checked. It has a check mark. Click on it because we want to uncheck it. What we're telling Excel to do here is to unlock those cells that we selected, those 5 cells. We want them unprotected. All right, so go ahead and press OK, and then deselect that range by clicking anywhere on your sheet. Next, let's go ahead and display the Review tab on the ribbon across the top. And now we're going to follow our second step, which is to protect the entire sheet. So click on the Protect Sheet. Notice that there's 2 Protect Sheet or Protect Workbook in the Protect group. We want to click on Protect Sheet. All right, so here we have several options, and the instructions are telling us to verify that the Protect Worksheet and Contents of Lock Cells checkbox is checked. That's this cell right here, it's checked. And also we want to select the first 2 boxes. All right, so it looks like we have it exactly as we are instructed. You can now press OK. Now, when I selected those 3 boxes, what I'm telling Excel is to make sure that every cell in this worksheet is protected except for the ones that I unprotected earlier, and also that we are able to select and unselect any cell in the worksheet. We won't be able to change all of them, not the ones that are protected, but we can select them. All right, so make sure you save your work, File, Save, and we are done with this step. Next, we're gonna learn how to unhide or hide a worksheet in a workbook. So in what kind of situation may you wanna do this? Perhaps you want to present this to a customer and you want them to be able to see the worksheets with your results, your calculations, but you don't necessarily want them to see the data that you use to make this calculation. So you may want to hide the worksheet where you have your data. Now in Excel, in order to be able to hide a worksheet, you need to have at least one remaining sheet visible, right? So in this case, I would not be able to unhide this worksheet because that's the only one. So I'm gonna just create a new one. It's gonna be blank just so that I can show you how I can hide the mortgage payment calculator sheet. So we're gonna create a new sheet by pressing this plus sign at the bottom left corner right next to your mortgage payment calculator tab sheet, right? There will be a little plus sign. That's for adding a new sheet. So click on it, and as you can see now, we have a new sheet. Excel gives it a random name, sheet 1. Now we're gonna be able to hide our mortgage payment calculator sheet. So right click on that tab, and that shortcut menu is displayed, and here we can press hide. All right, so now as you can see, that sheet has disappeared. We can't see it. All I see is that sheet 1 that is completely blank. Now to unhide it, you can right click on any of the remaining worksheets. In this case, sheet 1 is the only one. So I'm gonna right click, and now you're gonna have the option to unhide. So click on unhide, and here Excel will show you all the potential sheets that you have previously hidden, and now you have to select which one you want to unhide. We only have the mortgage payment calculator sheet. So I'm gonna click on it, press OK, and there we go. We go back to normal, right? We have those two sheets. All right, so next we're gonna move on to our next section, which is to hide or unhide an entire workbook. Now you're probably wondering, why would I want to hide the entire workbook? Well, perhaps you are working on it and you want to step away from your computer and you want to hide it so nobody can see your work, or maybe you have several workbooks open and you want to hide one temporarily so that it's not on the way, right? So in order to do this, we're gonna go to the View tab on the main ribbon, and here you'll see in the window group, hide and unhide. So if you click hide, the whole workbook will disappear. Let's go to click unhide again, and then select that that workbook. It's the only one that I have listed there, and we press OK. So there it is again. All right, and then the last step is we're gonna learn how to do a formula check. What is a formula check? It's very similar to a spell check like we do in Word, right? When you have a write-up as a Word file, you want to do a spell checking, right? Here in Excel, we want to make sure that we do a formula check so that Excel can alert us if there are any problems with our formulas. So let's follow the steps. We're going to click on File on the main ribbon, and then here go all the way down to Options. And here on the left-hand side menu, we're going to select Formulas, the second one from the top. And a few things we want to make sure that they are selected here. Enable background and error checking, we want that box selected. Under colors here, if you click on that little bucket, you can select any color that you want that Excel will show when Excel finds a formula error, right? We're gonna leave it as it is, as the instructions are not telling us to change that, but I just wanted to point that out. And now in the instructions, we do have to check that any of the error checking rules are selected. So I see all of them are selected except for one, formulas referring to empty cell. I'm gonna check that. Make sure that in your computer you have all of them checked, and then we're just gonna press reset, ignore errors. Whenever you add a new check mark in that list, you wanna reset, ignore errors, so that Excel can run that formula check again, and then press OK. All right, there we go. And it seems like everything is good. I don't see anything in green. So everything looks good. And we are ready with this project. All right, save it one more time. File, save, and then go ahead and submit it. I'll see you in the next video.